Hey everybody, welcome to Craft of the Yeti. Each year I build something for my wife's Christmas village. This year she put in a special request for the Haunted Mansion. Using dollar store foam core, I put together a basic floor plan. I'll use this as a guide to copy the pattern 3 times. Each of these will be used to separate a floor of the mansion and provide stability to the building. The next step is to craft some walls. I'm using the same dollar store foam core here, cut to about 3 inches in height. The paper doesn't stick well, so I'll peel it off to prevent problems down the road. I have a door template that I've saved each year to keep the scale about the same between all the buildings I've made. I use this for the window size and to get a rough idea for how large I'd like the doors. Here's what the first floor will look like. I use my X-Acto knife to cut the windows and doors out. Once the walls are ready, I use my hot glue gun to attach everything to the floor I made earlier. I have also cut a small piece of foam at 90 degrees to make sure the walls aren't too crooked as I glue them. I hold the walls in place until the glue has cooled enough that I'm sure that they won't move. There are going to be quite a few walls that need to be attached, so I think I'll recruit some help from our Yeti friend. Not bad at all, thanks for the assist. Before we get too far along, I need to sort the wiring for all the lights. I pulled the LEDs from cheap tea lights. I showed how I do this in the video where I created Ollivander's Wand Shop, link below. I tried to color the wires by floor. And there are 3 different floors, plus the gazebo looking thing on top that all need lights. Everything was wired in parallel, and luckily it all works. Off camera, I made these little things out of XPS foam to make the LEDs stand off the floor so that they would be more visible. The stands are pulled off their skewers and attached with hot glue. I tried to put one holder near each set of windows. You may also have noticed I painted the interior black in hopes of hiding all the wires when the lights are on. With the holders in place, I marked and cut a spot for the battery pack. I then attached an LED to each holder with hot glue. It takes a minute to set up, but the bond is strong enough once the glue cools. Apologies for the out of focus camera here. With the first floor done, I'm ready to move on to the second floor. I will need to carefully thread the wires and LEDs through this little hole. I will then glue the second floor to the first floor and repeat the steps to glue the holders and LEDs. Here are all the LEDs installed and working. I test things a whole lot during the process to make sure I don't break anything. For the windows, I'll be using clear plastic, something like what you would find in a blister pack for toys. I cover both sides of the plastic in matte Mod Podge, which diffuses the light and makes it a little harder to see through. Here is what the plastic looks like when the Mod Podge has cured. And now to add the windows to the whole building. To build the gazebo looking thing on top, I found an octagon shape on Google and scaled it to the correct size in Photoshop. I then printed the octagons on paper, cut them out with scissors, and glued them to foam core with a glue stick. I then cut them out with my hobby knife. And because I used glue sticks, I could pull the pattern off and reuse it. I glued everything together with hot glue and left a hole in the middle for an LED to be routed through. These thin pieces of foam core here will hold the roof portion up and make our gazebo look more like a lighthouse. The next step is to get our gables and roof onto the house. I made these with chipboard.
And then we're going to need, as always, some graphics medium chipboard. This is that thick grayish slab you'll find at the back of a legal pad.
Next, I got to use a new toy, a laser cutter. The windows and doors were all cut out of 1/16 inch basswood. This thing is 100% unnecessary and 1000% awesome. It makes much more accurate cuts than I can, and it also cuts in much smaller detail. Plus, it's just incredibly satisfying to watch. The windows were cut into 2 layers to provide some extra depth. Using some PVA glue and an old brush, I glued the 2 layers together. I still have a long way to go to get amazing results with the laser cutter, but I'm pretty happy with what I have for my first project. The windows are attached to the building with the same PVA glue. The doors had quite a few layers as well, and they were put together in the same manner as the windows. All the windows and doors are now in place, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of light leaking through the outside of the doors and windows. To help with that leakage, I painted a few layers of black acrylic paint. We will also add some siding later to help hide the excess light. Speaking of siding, all the siding was made from food-grade cardboard. Think granola bar box here. I cut a bunch of strips. I think I went through 2 boxes of my kids' fruit snacks. Did I say I would add some siding? I meant I would ask our Yeti friend here to help out again. I left him to it and came back the next morning. He did a fantastic job, but he may need a good long break again. Thanks, buddy. Anywhere there are corners, I added another strip to cover the ugly joints. Off camera, I made the chimneys out of XPS foam. They were all attached with hot glue. The shingles were made from the same food-grade cardboard. The haunted mansion looks pretty well kept, and let's be honest, I was looking for another excuse to use the laser. So I cut these out, and I love how precise that thing is. I glued the strips on and let them run long. Once I had a section done, I used scissors or my hobby knife to cut the strips to the proper length. Now on to painting. I painted the siding and trim an antique white color and lost the footage. Oops. I painted the shutters a deep forest green. At some point during the painting, a window or 2 got damaged. These small pieces are a bit fragile. Luckily, I can just patch in new pieces. With those fixed, it's back to painting. I initially painted the roof a chocolate brown color, but didn't like it, so I went back with a more dark chocolate color. The gazebo lighthouse roof is painted teal, or maybe it's like an oxidized copper color. I also painted the chimneys a brick red, and here is everything before the wash. To add depth, I washed the building with watered-down acrylic paints. I don't want things to look too dirty, so I tried to keep the wash a shade or 2 darker than the base coats. I made the pillars here using wooden dowels and styrene. I painted them to match the siding. I then cut out small sections of the walkways and glued the pillars to the front of the building using hot glue. The Haunted Mansion has quite a bit of wrought iron railings, and I was not sure how I was going to pull this off. I thought maybe 3D print something, but I'm no good at designing things. Eventually, though, it came to me. Lace could do the trick. I bought a few different types of lace ribbon at my local craft supply store. They also had fabric stiffener that came in clutch. I soaked the lace in it and let it dry for a good long time, and then painted it teal/oxidized copper. When the paint dried, the lace was incredibly stiff. I measured using my very scientific eyeball method and cut with scissors. I then used tacky PVA glue to attach the railings. I repeated this around the rest of the walkways. The last thing to add was the weather vane on top. I made this with some wire I painted black. Now, after about 4 months, sorry wife, the Haunted Mansion is ready to be added to the Christmas Village. Thanks a ton for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe for more.